My name is Alex Meyer, and I am an MA Bioethics in Society student here at King's College. And before I came to King's, I was actually working as a genetic counselor in the United States. I had my graduate degree in medical genetics from the University of Wisconsin, and I'd been working in both clinical genetics and also the industry, kind of working as a clinical specialist, educating providers about genetics, primarily cancer genetics. And I had always had an interest in ethics, the ethical issues surrounding genetics. Obviously, there's a whole host of genetic issues or ethical issues that go along with genetics. So I decided to look into pursuing a bioethics degree. And about the first week, I signed up for a listserv in the American Society of Bioethics and Humanities website. There popped up a notice saying King's College of London announces its Masters in Bioethics program, and I thought, London, okay, I should check this out. And then the thing that really struck me about the program was that it was housed in a Department of Social Sciences rather than housed in a Department of Law or a Department of Medicine, which is very unusual, at least in the United States. So that really intrigued me. And then when I came to London and saw the program and visited with Sylvia a little bit, I thought, this is going to be great. This is really going to give me an opportunity to explore the genetic issues that really interest me, the ethical issues about them, and really broaden my horizons. The program itself has been very autonomous, I feel like. We had classes 2 days a week, but the rest of the time was up to us to keep up with reading, keep up with writing, learn, visit guest lectures, and attend different events like reading groups and careers events. We were kind of able to structure the program so that it would fit what we wanted and what we were hoping to get out of it. So I have to admit, the first term, the Foundations of Bioethics, was a challenge for me because it was very philosophy heavy, and I had never taken a philosophy course in my entire life. So that was interesting. But then as we moved past that and started to discuss specific issues in bioethics, specific case studies, specific problems that we as a society are facing that have a bioethical slant to them, it just became really engaging and really interesting. I never found a problem in terms of finding a topic to write an essay on. They would always say, okay, you need to write an essay, here's general guidelines, and I'd say, great, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and run with it. And a lot of my classmates were the same way. They would pick a topic and they'd get very excited about it. Others needed a little more guidance, and when they needed that, it was provided. So I've found it really, really interesting how every single one of my classmates, we've all taken a slightly different track and had a slightly different interest in bioethics. So it's going to be interesting to see where all our careers take us after this. So actually, just a few weeks ago, I spoke to the company that I was working with before. They're a clinical diagnostics genetics company, and told them, I'd love to come back and start a bioethics program within the company. They do a lot of translational research, and obviously that needs ethics approval, but they've been farming that out to Stanford University. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could get that internal? And then also, since they're on the cutting edge of genetics, it would be wonderful if they had a voice in the bioethics community, in the bioethics literature, offering their perspective on some of these genetics issues. So when I went back to my company and said, hey, I'd like to come back, they said, great. I said, all right, but I want to start a bioethics program. They said, even better, we'll get that going within a few months. So I'll be going back to my old role, but I'll be able to incorporate bioethics into it as a new facet of that role. Yeah, so one of the modules I took as part of the course was Genomics in Society. Of course, I took that as my optional module since I have such a strong interest in genetics. And it was absolutely eye-opening for me because I've always approached genetics more from the clinical perspective. And Barbara Prainsack, the module facilitator, told us all about all these different genomic issues in society that I was really only marginally aware of. And so she really, I think, gave me some new perspective on a lot of different genetics issues. The case studies in bioethics course did that as well. I've always been interested in pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, which is huge in the bioethics literature, and I got much more of a perspective of it this time around. I think one thing that kind of gets lost in the genetic shuffle of things on the genetic counselor side is how what we do really does affect society as a whole, as a bigger picture. And so it was really nice to get that perspective. And Barbara's been great in terms of providing that. She always really opened the class up for discussion. It was always very lively. We always had a lot of opinions flowing around. And she also happens to be my dissertation supervisor. So it's been great getting able to work with her one-on-one on that issue. My dissertation probably makes no sense to anybody outside of genetics, but basically with the concept of pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, the way that it works right now is we really only test 1 to 2 genes to see if an embryo has a mutation in its germline that would lead to a certain disease. And if it does, we don't implant it, or maybe we do implant it, but it's all very focused on 1 or 2 genes. What I'm looking at is what if we took the concept of whole exome sequencing or whole genome sequencing and applied that to PGD. So basically looking at anything that could potentially be in that embryo, and is that any ethically different from how we're currently using PGD? So it's really a critical analysis trying to determine are there different ethical issues if we were to apply this new technology to PGD, which isn't being done yet, but I have the feeling is right around the corner. Well, I felt like I've been building towards the dissertation all year. We've definitely been encouraged to write, to apply critical thinking skills, to approach our essays from maybe a different writing style than we had in the past, which I think has really helped. I knew coming into the program that I probably wanted to do something with PGD with my dissertation, but as I've gone through the program and learned about what has been really well debated and covered in the ethical literature about PGD and what hasn't been, that's kind of helped me focus and shape what I'm going to do. So I think I was very lucky. I think I'm one of the few who knew right away what my dissertation topic was going to be, and so it was a little easier for me to form a research question, but I've had nothing but support from the word go. I was shocked when I got here how many extracurricular activities there were available. There's a cheese club here. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing, and I didn't join it, but it was just really interesting to know that. So I mean, there's lots of opportunities for extracurricular activities. I kind of just stuck to what was going on within the program pretty much. There was always something to do. There was always an evening lecture within the department, a guest speaker, a movie night, a reading group. There's always something going on. So between that and wanting to see as much of London as I could while I'm here, I was always very, very busy. There were definitely adjustments to be made. It is a different lifestyle, it's a different culture. I mean, you assume that since it's an English-speaking culture, it's going to be very similar to what I'm used to in America. And to some extent, that's true. There's a lot of similarities, but there were also a lot of differences. And it's just been fun finding what those differences are and learning little things. I don't think I'll ever get used to the British saying Z for Z. That always throws me off, but the food in London is great. There's always so much to see. Pretty much everywhere you go, there's a tourist attraction or some sort of historical plaque to look at. I was just walking through the Paddington area the other day, and there was a giant chessboard in the middle of a park, and I'd never seen that before. And so even now, so many months later, I still feel like I'm exploring London and finding new things. So one of my classmates actually gave me kind of a unique opportunity. Since London is an expensive city, I wanted to be able to earn a little bit of pocket money while I was here. And one of my classmates is actually a research coordinator in the clinical neurosciences department at King's College Hospital. And so she helps coordinate and manage a lot of different research studies. And knowing my background in genetics, she asked if I was willing to come in once a week to help her coordinate a genetics of epilepsy study. And I said, absolutely. It was really the best possible job I could have had while I was here, because since she was also a student in the program, she understood my need to work around exam times and breaks. She was very flexible with the schedule. Plus, I got to keep my finger in the genetics pie to some extent. So it really was a great job while I was here. And my other classmates have been amazing as well. It has been a little interesting for me because I'm about 10 years older than most of them, but we all get along, we all hang out, we spend nights at the pub and have game nights, and I think a lot of us are going to stay in touch once the program ends, especially if they want me to give them a job.